So recently we were asked our opinion on what we do after we totally screw up as a parent, when we really do those things that we wish we hadn't, and we say the things we wish we hadn't have said, or did the things that maybe hurt our children. And when we sat with that, we decided this video is going to be about an authentic apology.
Okay, so the authentic apology, and before we dive right into some of the nitty-gritties on how to do an authentic apology, we'll start with the disclaimer that we're going to assume, if you're watching this video, that you have a belief that you can be wrong in front of your children and that you can admit that to them, and that you can say that, and that you don't always have to be the superior person who never admits any wrongdoing, and that you're perfect.
Or that you kind of need to gloss over all that stuff and work on it out of their presence. This is about being authentic in front of them.
Okay, so the authentic apology, when you've screwed up or when you've just done something, and we do this all the time in our parenting, none of us is perfect, and we have moments where we lose our cool, where we yell, where we do something that is really out of alignment with who we want to be as a mother and how we want to be showing up. And at some point we reconnect with that inside ourselves, and we often feel crap. Like when you get to this point, you just go, oh, why did I do that? And I feel so bad about that. And there's usually a disconnection. There might even be one of those uncomfortable silences where no one's communicating with each other after the fact. And that's where the authentic apology can be really helpful. And so what's the purpose of an authentic apology? There's a few pieces. And for me, when we were talking about it, a main part is to own my own side of it, to own my own shit in the experience, and to fully claim that what I did wrong and what I'm not okay with in myself. And the second piece for me is as a vehicle to reconnect, to really create that bond again, and to try and mitigate any damage that might have occurred in the process. But Kay, you had another piece.
Yeah, there are another couple of pieces. One is about creating closure. So when you come to your child and fully own your part of the experience without needing to put blame on yourself or them or any of that, just really take responsibility for it. It creates a bit of closure rather than kind of lingering with either, ooh, I'm a bad mother, and continuing to kind of apologise and kind of draw it out, or lingering with frustration and resentment towards them, but when you're not really taking responsibility. It's like creating a clear, enclosed chapter on that thing that happened, because many will. And then another one is really modelling that responsibility. So we'll go into this soon, but it's a big part of the authentic apology is owning your part without needing to bring their bit in. How powerful a model that is for your children to own their part in any conflict, no matter what the other person does. So really modelling that, because there's a strong tendency to kind of add a but or because and want them to do the same thing, but really modelling that I can just own my part and let it go is a powerful thing for your children to learn from example.
Absolutely. I love what you said about the closure piece, because there's an empowerment around not letting that drag on and on and on. Because when you do let it drag on and on and on, you kind of keep half apologising, and you are apologising with your actions, and you're apologising kind of in the way that you're tiptoeing around, without being really forthright about it. You create a dynamic in running in that relationship, and it can actually really perpetuate itself, and your children can take it and run with it too.
Or it can also just feel inauthentic too.
Yeah. Okay, so the authentic apology is not that difficult really when you get down to it.
Kind of seems obvious, but it's those obvious things that we all need to remember.
And sometimes it can be hard to do, especially if you're new to the practice. I feel like in my bad moments of parenting, or those days when it's all seeming just too hard, I can have to do an authentic apology 2 or 3 times in the day, sometimes more, you know. This is a really great practice to be able to do as much as is necessary, as much as it comes up, and whenever you feel inspired to do it. Okay, so the authentic apology is pretty simple. You've probably already connected with your values, and if you haven't, that's usually the first step, but quite often you have and you're feeling crap because you're not acting in alignment with them. But if for some reason you're not, just connect back to those fundamental values you're holding around your relationship. What's really important to you. Now just bring you back into the right space. And then what you want to do is own your part. Own everything that was your part in the situation without using a but or a because. So no justification, just own your side of it.
And without wanting to explain their side to them.
Yeah. And it's very much speaking your truth. So using those I statements.
So an example that I have, like when my children were having an argument and it was driving me crazy, really. And I kind of became a part of it and added my whole drama to it and yelled at them and said things that I really don't want to say when I'm in alignment with my values. And this is an important part of it, about not adding a but, even when it's there, like making a commitment to not doing that, because I was still feeling stuff, like feeling a bit annoyed at the way that they handled the situation. But when I made an authentic apology, it was pretty much, so I was, and I still am, feeling a bit frustrated and angry about that whole dynamic, but I'm really sorry about my part in it and what I said to you guys and how I said it, because it didn't help the situation, and I'm really sorry about how it affected you and it affected our relationship. And then I stopped, and there's often a compulsion in me to go, but you know, or and you know, or because this is kind of what happened, and rehash the situation and remind them of it, or especially explain how they could have done it differently. But I just stopped and let it go and leave it there. Like, don't add anything else.
Just claim and own your own piece.
Yeah, and just like take a breath and let them receive that.
Yeah.
And we'll share a little bit later about how you can bring in kind of collaborative problem solving after you really don't have that charge anymore, at another time, but not at the same time, so you're not connecting them together, so they really get an experience of someone owning their part without needing to have an expectation that the other person owns their part, or even without, like, definitely without kind of putting a feel that I was in the wrong. Like, an authentic apology isn't like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was being a really terrible mother, like, oh my god, I did everything wrong. Like, it's not about putting blame on myself and making it feel like it was my fault, and it's not about doing that to them either. It's just, this was my part, I own it, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clear energy.
Yeah, it is. It's a really clean energy, and that's what you want. You don't want the guilt or the blame. And you don't want an expectation of anything at the end of this. You're doing this because this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. That's the energy you want to go into it with. Having said that, we were speaking about this and what we were going to talk about, and it came up for me. I was realising that a lot of the time after I do that and I have that space, what's interesting is my children often spontaneously own their stuff. Not from a place of blame, or not from a, oh, she apologised, I should apologise, I suppose. None of that energy exists.
And it's because that energy doesn't exist, that's why it happens.
Yeah, yeah. And so that is then modelled, and they naturally rise into that space too. So that's that modelling piece in action that does actually happen. And if you try it on a few times, then you'll see it. children have an amazing capacity to forgive too. Their forgiveness can just, you know, woof like that. It's just quite amazing how they can let it all go. And they can really support that energy of not letting it linger and not dragging it down into guilt and blame. And that's so you can support them and they can support you with that dynamic.
And then in those situations when it feels like you still want to have conversations about what's been going on, like later on, another day or in the night, and make sure you don't mess that energy of that authentic apology up with this. This is a whole different energy. It's like it's a separate time. Then you can come up with, so how could have we handled this whole situation differently, and actually ask that question of everybody when there's no charge and when everyone can kind of bring in ideas about what they could have done differently, but kind of do that separately, not at the same time as you owning your part in it.
Yeah, so the apology is about reconnection and ownership of your own stuff, and then the other piece, the solution orientated piece, the collaborative piece where you problem solve together, you want that a really separate space and a separate energy so that they don't get blended together. Don't give feedback while you're trying to reconnect with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can go in crazy cycles.
Okay, the one other piece that we want to add to this is that this is not something that you do at some particular age or when your children are old enough or anything like that. I personally would start this right from the beginning, right from day dot, if it was me. Would you?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So this is something that you just want to start establishing as a practice all the way through, not just at a certain age when you think it's okay to tell them what you did wrong or something like that. Just goes right from the beginning. And with younger children, or it just depends on the situation, I guess. This still happens with my 10-year-old, but you probably want your children to initiate this side of it themselves if they feel ready, but children often add a physical component into the apology, so there's often hugs and cuddles and kisses, and I have found personally that that's a really powerful, adds a whole extra level and dimension to the reconnection. So if your children are open to it, really have an open energy and be willing to embrace them.
So in summary, just in a nutshell, what the authentic apology is, it's you owning your part in the dynamic, the things that you wish you had have done differently. So sharing what went on, how it didn't serve the situation from what you did, what you could have done differently, what you would have liked to have done differently, and an apology, and leave it at that. And it's not blaming yourself, it's not blaming the other, it's not having any expectation that they do the same. It's without right, wrong, blame or expectations. It's just owning it, taking responsibility, and not mixing feedback, how they could have done things differently in with the apology.
Your apology is to reconnect.
And that's it. Give it a go and let us know how it goes.
Well, that was one of a bit off for us, really, wasn't it? I was like, oh, that one was kind of hard.